Spartans, prepare your breakfast and eat well, because tonight we will dine in Hades. This is the line that defines a legend. The phrase that turns a man into an immortal myth. 300 men, a narrow mountain pass, and an empire that, according to reports, had more than 1 million soldiers. It is undoubtedly the greatest story of military sacrifice ever told. But we know the man behind the helmet. The movie showed us the warrior, showed us the king, but it did not show us the monster. Because Leonidas was not born a hero. He was designed. He was forged. He was systematically broken and rebuilt by the most brutal, ruthless, and efficient training machine that the ancient world ever conceived. This is not just the story of Thermopylae. That is the end of the story. This is the origin story. How do you create a human weapon? What do you have to sacrifice? What part of your own humanity do you have to murder to become Sparta's living legend? To understand Leonidas, you have to understand the place that gave birth to him. Sparta Lacedaemon. It was not like Athens, full of philosophers, artists, and theaters. Sparta was an austere, primitive rock and lived under the yoke of a constant and paralyzing fear. The fear of the Persians, of the Athenians. No, Sparta was afraid of itself. The pure Spartans, the homoioi or equals, were a tiny elite. They ruled over a massive population of state slaves. The helots always outnumbered 10 to 1, sometimes 20 to 1. Their entire society was not designed to conquer the world. It was designed to control their own backyard, to keep the boot on the neck of hundreds of thousands of people who hated them and who, if given half a chance, would massacre them while they slept. Their solution was Terra, the Cryptaia, a secret police of young Spartans who hunted the strongest or most rebellious helots at night. It was not just population control, it was training. It was teaching children to kill in the dark. This is the world into which Leonidas is born, around 540 before Christ. A world of paranoia, violence, and iron discipline. And here is where Leonidas' story takes its first twist. The twist that defines everything. He was of royal blood. He belonged to the house of the Agiads, one of the 2 royal families of Sparta. Yes, 2 kings, a strange system to prevent any one man from accumulating too much power. But in Sparta, being royal did not mean luxury, it did not mean exemption. Most heir princes, the firstborn, were educated separately, prepared to rule. But Leonidas was not the firstborn. He had 2 older brothers. He was not destined for the throne. And this is what creates the monster. Not being the direct heir. At 7 years old, Leonidas was torn from his family like all other Spartan children. He was thrown into the Agog. The Agog was not a school. It was a dehumanization factory. A 13-year program designed to burn away individualism and forge the collective to eliminate fear. To eliminate compassion, to eliminate pain, to replace everything with a single thing, obedience. Think of Navy SEALs training. Now imagine that it lasts more than a decade and that it starts at 7 years old. They were given a single tunic per year, no shoes, ever. Neither in the scorching summer heat nor in the winter ice. They slept on the ground on reed beds that they had to pull from the river with their own hands. They were deliberately kept on the edge of starvation. Why? To encourage theft. But here is the Spartan psychological trap. They were not punished for stealing. They were savagely punished for being caught. The crime was not theft, it was incompetence. The message was clear. Be cunning, be invisible, be ruthless. Succeed. Suffer pain you cannot even imagine. Older boys were put in charge of the younger ones, creating a hierarchy of institutionalized abuse. Beatings were not punishment. They were the curriculum. The goal was to make pain irrelevant. And in the middle of this nightmare is the young Leonidas, a child of royal blood treated worse than a dog. What does that do to a child's mind most break? They become soulless drones. But history shows that Leonidas was different. He did not just survive the Agagi, he thrived. Where others saw cruelty, he saw competition. Where others felt pain, he found a limit to push. He learned not only to endure the system, but to dominate it. He learned to use hunger, cold and pain as fuel. The Agoge taught one lesson above all others: laconicism, the economy of words. Never show emotion, never complain. A true Spartan only speaks when it is vital, and when he does, his words strike like a spear. Leonidas was becoming the perfect embodiment of that ideal: cold, disciplined, absolutely lethal. But while he was being forged in this hell, fate was moving its pieces in the royal palace. His older brothers, the ones ahead of him in the line of succession, were going to make mistakes. Catastrophic mistakes. The Agoge was only the first filter. The real test for Leonidas was yet to come. A test of power, madness, and blood. The boy thrown to the wolves was about to discover that he was the alpha wolf. Leon is being forged in the fire. He is learning to lead, to kill, to obey. But while he fights for a piece of hard bread in the barracks in the royal palace, a different war is being waged, a war of succession. The throne of Sparta is not a straight path. Leonidas's father, Anaxandridas, has 3 sons that matter. First, Cleomenes, the firstborn, the heir. And here is the first weakness of the Spartan system. The heir to the throne was exempt from the Agoge. Cleomenes did not sleep on the ground, did not go hungry, was not beaten unconscious. He was raised as a prince, while his brothers were raised as wolves. Second, Dorius. Next in line, Dorius did go through the Agoge. He was strong, he was arrogant, he was everything a Spartan should be, and he hated his older brother Cleomenes for his weakness. He saw a man who had earned nothing about to inherit everything. And then third, there was Leonidas. Leonidas is the shadow, the spare. The one who does not matter, caught between an older brother he despises and a pampered brother who ignores him. Around 520 before Christ the king dies, Cleomenes is crowned king of Sparta, and for Dorius this is unbearable. The true warrior, the product of the Agoge, now has to kneel before the brother he considers weak, corrupt, and unworthy. The tension in Sparta is so thick it can be cut with a sword. What happens when the world's most brutal training system produces a man who cannot accept his leader a coup? Murder knows something worse for a Spartan: self-imposed exile. Dorieus cannot bear to breathe the same air as his brother king. He declares that Sparta is contaminated, gathers his followers, the toughest warriors who trust him, and abandons Sparta forever. He embarks on an expedition to found his own colony. First in Libya, then in Sicily. He is seeking his own kingdom, seeking to prove that he was the true chosen one. The second in the line of succession is gone. Now all attention falls on King Cleomenes, and power reveals the truth. Cleomenes is not just a bad king, he is unstable, he is impulsive, he is volatile. He starts wars without the permission of the ephors, the magistrates who oversaw the kings. It is rumored that he bribed the oracle of Delphi itself to depose the other king of Sparta. He breaks every rule. His behavior becomes increasingly strange. He is a military genius one moment and a paranoid lunatic the next. And meanwhile, what happens to Dorius, the warrior brother? News reaches Sparta. Dorius's expedition in Sicily has been a disaster. He was ambushed by the Carthaginians. The great warrior, the man who believed himself better than the king, was massacred along with almost all his men. The historian Herodotus said it bluntly: if Dorius had stayed and endured his brother, he would have become king. But his arrogance, his impatience led him to an anonymous grave in a foreign land. Heir number 2 is dead. Heir number 1 is losing his mind. Cleomenes' madness finally explodes. He becomes so violent and erratic that the ephors officially declare him insane. They arrest him, put him in stocks, chained, publicly humiliated. The king of Sparta, treated like a rabid animal. What happened next? Here is where the official story becomes inconvenient. The next day they find Cleomenes dead in his cell. The official version is shocking. It is said that he convinced a guard to give him a knife and then methodically dismembered himself. He cut his legs, his thighs, his hips, his chest until he bled out. A suicide of unimaginable brutality. But was that what really happened, or was it an assisted suicide, a necessary execution to eliminate a mad king who had become a shame and a danger to the state? We do not know, but the result is the same. The pampered heir is dead. The arrogant heir is dead, the boy who was thrown into the augoge at 7 years old. The man who survived the most brutal system on earth. The man who watched in silence as his family self-destructed. Around 490 before Christ, Leonidas, third in line, the one who was never supposed to rule, puts on the crown. He did not inherit the throne, he outlived it. Sparta had not just crowned a prince. It had just put its most perfect monster in charge of everything. And the timing could not be worse because far in the east, another king, a king of kings, was looking at Greece and was about to unleash hell. Leon takes the throne, the survivor, the perfect product of the agoge. But the king forged in hell has barely felt the weight of the crown on his head when the world decides to put him to the test. Because on the other side of the known world in Susa, in a palace as large as all of Sparta, sits another king. A man who does not rule 20,000 warriors. He rules, according to reports, 70 million souls. They do not call him king. They call him Shahanshah, king of kings. Xerxes. Xerxes was not thrown into a barracks at 7 years old. He was wrapped in silk. He was not taught to steal bread the world was served to him on a silver platter. And now, he wanted Greece. The year Leonidas is crowned, 490 before Christ, Xerxes' father, Darius, had already tried. He sent an invasion force. They landed in a place called Marathon, and against all odds, the Athenians crushed them. It was a shocking victory, an absolute humiliation for the all-powerful Persian Empire. For Darius, it was a setback, but for his son Xerxes, when he inherits the throne, that defeat becomes an obsession. This is no longer politics, it is revenge, it is personal. While Xerxes spends almost a decade assembling the largest army in history, what does Leonidas do? He rules as he was trained, with iron discipline. Unlike his mad brother, Cleomenes, Leonidas is predictable. He is stable, he is lethally efficient, and he is not alone. In Sparta, women were different. They were educated, they were listened to. And Leonidas' wife Gorgo was as Spartan as he was. In fact, she was shrewder. There is a famous story. A spy in the Persian court needs to send a secret message to Sparta, warning of Xerxes' invasion. He sends a wooden tablet completely blank. The wisest men of Sparta are perplexed.
What does it mean? Is it a threat? An insult? It is Gorgo who solves it. She is the only one who says, "Scrape the wax." They do and there.
Engraved in the wood under the wax is the warning message. Xerxes is coming. Leonidas is not just a monster of muscle and rage. He is part of an iron alliance. He is the spear, she is the edge. And together they see what is coming. And what is coming is unimaginable. Xerxes has assembled an army that defies logic. The ancient historian Herodotus claims there were 5 million men. Modern historians reduce it to perhaps 200 or 300,000. But you know what? The exact number does not matter. What matters is that there were too many. Too many to count, too many to feed. So many that it is said that when Xerxes' army stopped to drink, they dried up entire rivers to cross the Hellespont, the strait that leads to Europe. Xerxes orders the construction of a bridge of boats more than a kilometer long. When a storm destroys it, Xerxes flies into divine rage. He orders his men to whip the sea 300 lashes against the water, and then has the engineers beheaded. This is not a man looking for a battle. He is a god in his own mind, a tyrant with infinite resources and an ego the size of a continent, and he comes to erase Greece from the map. Before the sword comes the diplomacy of terror. Xerxes sends ambassadors to every Greek city-state. The demand is simple. They do not ask for an alliance. They demand total surrender. They demand earth and water, the symbol of absolute submission. The acknowledgement that Xerxes is now their lord, and the land they walk and the water they drink belong to him. Greece breaks. The panic is total. Thessaly surrenders. Boeotia surrenders. Argos surrenders. The great Greek alliance is crumbling before a single arrow is fired. Finally, the ambassadors arrive in Sparta. They make their demand before the two kings and the ephors, earth and water. Leonidas, the man who learned laconicism, the one who does not waste words, the one who knows that any sign of weakness is death. Listen, the movie gives us an immortal line, but the historical reality is a well. The Spartans, under Leonidas's leadership, do not deliberate. They grab the messengers, drag them to the edge of the city, hold them over the abyss, and give their answer. Do you want earth and water? Find it yourselves. They just did. There is no turning back. There is no negotiation. They have murdered the diplomatic messengers of the god king. They have signed their own death warrant and that of all Greece. Xerxes' response will not be a battle, it will be annihilation. The splash at the bottom of the well is not the end, it is the beginning. It is the sound of the gates of hell opening. Leonidas and Sparta have signed Greece's death warrant. They have committed the capital sin, killing a messenger. An act so barbaric that it breaks all the rules of war. And Xerxes is not going to respond with a simple military reprimand. He is going to respond with eradication. The news spreads like wildfire. Sparta has condemned everyone. The panic is total. Athens, Corinth, Thebes. The Greek city-states, always arguing, always at war with each other, suddenly realize they are on the brink of extinction. An emergency congress is held, and for the first time all eyes look to one place, to Sparta. The rest of Greece has ships, has merchants, has philosophers. But Sparta has the army. They are the killing machine. The panic turns into a demand. You got us into this. What is the plan to save us? An Athenian Themistocles presents the strategy, a two-front defense. One, the fleet. Athens has built a new armada of triremes. They can block the Persian fleet in the straits. But what is the problem? Ships cannot stop 200,000 infantry soldiers. Xerxes' horde is not coming by sea. It is coming by land. They need to stop that horde. But where, in open field, the Persian cavalry and their infinite numbers will massacre them. They need a bottleneck. A place so narrow, so claustrophobic that Xerxes' vast army has to be reduced to a trickle. A place where 1,000,000 men are worth no more than 100. A place called Thermopylae, the hot gates. A narrow path with a mountain on one side and a cliff dropping straight into the sea on the other. It is the only place, the only chance for all Greece. The plan is simple. The bulk of the Greek army, led by the Spartan phalanx, will march to Thermopylae. They will block the pass. They will contain Xerxes long enough for the Greek fleet to win at sea. The plan is made. The strategy is solid. Leonidas goes before the ephors to ask permission to mobilize the Spartan army. And the ephors say, no. The Spartan army will not march. Leonidas, the warrior king. The monster of the Agog is stopped. By whom? By a rival general, no, by superstition. It is the month of the Carnea, Sparta's most sacred religious festival. The law is absolute. During the Carnea, the army cannot march to war. It is sacrilege. It is tempting fate. It is enraging the gods. It is madness. The Persian army is not going to stop to respect a Spartan festival. They are marching. They are weeks, perhaps days away, but the ephors do not budge. The law is the law. Piety is piety. The army stays home. Greece will burn. Athens will be sacked. Sparta will be besieged. All because of a festival. Leonidas faces an enemy worse than Xerxes. Inertia, fear. The bureaucracy of the gods has him trapped. But Leonidas is not a politician. He is a product of the Agog. And the Agors teaches you to find the way to win, to steal the bread, without being seen to find the crack in the system. He finds the crack. The law says the Spartan army cannot march, but the law says nothing about the king's personal guard. The Hippes, the royal guard. 300 men, the absolute elite of the planet's most elitist system. Leonidas goes back before them. He will not mobilize the army. He will simply take his personal guard, the 300, and march north. Officially, it is not a declaration of war. It is an advance guard, a reconnaissance force. The Ephors, trapped by their own logic, cannot refuse. Leonidas has his men, but then he gives one last order, an order that freezes the blood. What is it? Leonidas looks at his 300 elite soldiers and tells them that only those who already have living sons can go. Why? Why this order so specific, so cruelly administrative? Because Leonidas knows the truth. This is not an advance guard. They are not going to scout the terrain. They are not going to contain the enemy. They are not even going to win. They are going to die. He knows that 300 men, not even 300 Spartans, cannot stop 200,000. The plan is not victory. The plan is sacrifice. He is choosing the men whose bloodlines will not be extinguished with them in that mountain pass. He is ensuring that Sparta continues, even if its best royal guard is annihilated. This is not a military mission. It is a ritualized suicide. And Leonidas, the monster forged in the Agors, the king who outlived his family, the man who found the crack in the law, has just selected 300 martyrs to march with him into hell. 300 men, 300 bloodlines secured, 300 warriors sentenced to death not by the enemy, but by their own king and by their own law. In Sparta, farewells are not for the weak. There is no crying, no pleas of come back safe. Spartan women, raised in the same factory of a hardness, hand the heavy bronze shields to their sons and husbands with a single order. The phrase that defines their culture, come back with it or on it. Victory or an honorable corpse carried on the shield. Anything else like returning alive but without the shield. Having thrown it away to flee faster was absolute shame, a living death worse than Hades. Gorgo, the woman who deciphered the secret message, the only one who matched his hardness, asks him the final question. Not why must you go, but what must I do? Leonidas's answer is the final testament of the Agoge. Cold, practical, heartbreaking. Marry a good man, have good sons. The 300 march. The rhythmic sound of 600 armored sandals striking the earth. They leave austere Sparta. But before facing the god king on earth, Leonidas must face the gods in the ether. He makes a stop, the most sacred place in Greece, Delphi, the center of the world, to consult the oracle of Apollo. He seeks a sign, one last strategy, a hope. The priestess speaks. Her voice is not human. It is a hiss, and she gives Leonidas one of the most famous and terrifying prophecies of all antiquity. O you inhabitants of Sparta, either your great and glorious city is razed by the descendants of Perseus, or in that case, the land of Lacedaemon will mourn the death of a king. The message is brutally clear. There is no victory without a cost. It is a choice of blood to save Sparta. A king must die. For any other man, it would be a death sentence. For Leonidas, the product of the Agoge, it is a release. It is no longer a suicidal mission. It is no longer a strategic assumption. It is destiny. The gods have ordered it. He is not just a general, he is the sacrifice. He marches north. As he advances, the great Greek army is supposed to join him. The Phocians, the Thebans, the Thespians. The combined power of a united Greece. But panic is faster than courage. The fear of Xerxes is total. The city-states hesitate. They send symbolic forces, not armies. When Leonidas arrives at the rendezvous point, he does not find the 20,000 men he expected. He assembles a pathetic force. Perhaps 7,000 men in total, of which 400 are from Thebes, the city already suspected of having secretly surrendered to Xerxes. 7,000 men against 250,000, but does it matter to Leonidas? He already knows the end. He is not there to win the battle. He is there to choose the setting of his death. And they reach the hot gates. It is perfect. At its narrowest, the pass measures barely 15 meters wide. Here, Xerxes' ocean of men is useless. Here, his elite cavalry cannot maneuver. Here, their numbers mean nothing. Here, the phalanx can become a wall of bronze wood and Spartan muscle. Leonidas orders the rebuilding of the Phocian wall. This will be the last line of defense for Greek freedom. They wait 1 day, 2 days. The tension is unbearable. The scouts return pale, their eyes crazed with terror. What have they seen? They have not seen an army. They have seen a continent in motion, a human tide so vast that the dust they raise darkens the sun. So many that the scouts say that when the Persians shoot their arrows, they blot out the sky. And then the vanguard arrives. Xerxes himself in his war chariot. He advances until he can see the small stone wall. He sees the 7,000 men, and at the front, the 300 Spartans with their red cloaks and their horsehair-crested helmets calmly combing their long hair. They do not flee. Furious at their arrogance, Xerxes sends one final emissary. The offer is simple. Surrender, hand over your weapons. All the tension of history reduces to this moment, to this answer. Leonidas, the monster of the Agorge, the master of laconicism, the man who does not waste breath and who has already accepted his own fate, smiles and gives the most famous reply in military history. 2 words that will echo for eternity. Molon lab. Come and take them. It is not a reply, it is a declaration of war. It is the final challenge. The king of Sparta, the monster of the Agoge, has just spat in the face of the god-king of the known universe. For Xerxes, this is incomprehensible. Rage shatters his arrogance. No more waiting. No more offers. At dawn on the 5th day, Xerxes orders the assault. He does not send his best men. Why bother? He sends the Medes 10,000 of them, troops from his conquered nations, men who fight out of fear, not loyalty. They are cannon fodder. Their job is simple: crush the 7,000 Greeks by sheer force of numbers, and they crash. They crash against the phalanx. This is what the Agagi designed them for, not as individuals, as a machine, a porcupine of steel and muscle. The Spartans in the front row lock their shields. There is no gap. The second row lowers their almost 3-meter dory spears over the shoulders of the first. The third row does the same. It is a 3-layered wall of death with spear points. The Persians cannot get close. Their wicker shields disintegrate. Their cloth armor offers no resistance. They die meters away, impaled. Leonidas is at the front, the warrior king, and gives the order. Othismos, the push. Those behind them stumble, and those behind them push them onto the spears. It is a meat grinder. The Persians behind, who can see nothing, keep pushing forward. Those in front who see everything cannot retreat. They are being crushed by their own army. They are pushing the Persians into the ocean. Xerxes is furious, humiliated. He has been stopped by a handful of fanatics. No, the game is over. No more cannon fodder. He sends the elite, the most feared force in the known world, his personal guard. 10,000 men, the immortals. They are called immortals because if one falls, another takes his place instantly. Their number never drops below 10,000. They are Xerxes' elite assault force. They have conquered empires, and now they charge into battle. The fighting is harder, the line bends. The immortals are masters of individual combat. But the Spartan phalanx is not based on the individual, it is based on the brother beside you. The Agoge system is stronger than individual skill. For every Spartan who falls, another takes his place. The bronze wall holds. The god king is afraid. His immortals are being massacred. The Spartan front is exhausted. They have been fighting for hours. They need to rotate. But how do you rotate a line in the middle of infernal chaos? Leonidas shouts an order, and the unthinkable happens. The Spartans flee. They are fleeing, but it is a trap, the most disciplined trap in military history. Panic grips the Persians. They were pursuing. Now they are charging into a wall of spears that has appeared out of nowhere. It is a massacre. Discipline has killed chaos. The first day ends. The narrow throat is filled meters high with the bodies of thousands of Persians. The sea is red. 2 days. The largest army in the world is stuck, stopped by a handful of men in the leadership of a monster king. Xerxes is desperate. The humiliation is total. His invasion has failed. There is no way to flank them. The phalanx is unbreakable from the front. Xerxes' army cannot defeat them, but one man can. He is not a soldier. He is a local shepherd, a traitor named Ephialtes. And he approaches Xerxes not with a sword, but with a secret worth an empire. A hidden path, a goat trail that goes around the mountain and comes out behind Leonidas. The traitor Ephialtes is the name that will live in infamy. He shows Xerxes the path, and the god king does not hesitate for a second. He does not send a patrol, he sends death. General Hydarnes leads the Persian elite on a forced march all night. They climb the mountain through oak forests. But what about Leonidas' plan? Did he not guard the path? Yes, he did. The Phocians were on guard, but 2 days have passed. Nothing has happened. They are relaxed. They are on a remote mountain in the mist. They do not expect an attack. Suddenly, they hear a sound. The Phocians panic, think it is the Spartans, but then arrows fly from the mist, hundreds of them. The immortals, the Phocians, are not Spartans. They are not trained to die. They break. They flee uphill, trying to save their own lives. They do not even try to defend the pass. The path is open. The trap is about to close. A scout arrives, and then a Persian deserter, all with the same message. They are behind us. The path has fallen. We are surrounded. This is the moment, the end. Xerxes' army is in front. The immortals are at their backs. They are trapped. It is a tomb. Panic erupts. The commanders of the other Greek city-states run to Leonidas. We must retreat, flee, save what we can. The oracle. Sparta will mourn the death of a king. Leonidas is not surprised. He expected it. Destiny has come to collect its debt. He gives the order. The final order. Retreat. He orders the thousands of Greek allies to flee to save themselves, to return to their cities, to warn Athens, to prepare for the next battle. Their job here is not to die pointlessly. Their job is to live to fight another day. Everyone leaves. Except 2 groups, the 700 Thespians refuse to go. Their city Thespiae is right in Xerxes' path. They know that if they do not stop the horde here, their homes will be the first to burn. They make a decision. They will die here with the Spartans. And the other group, the 400 Thebans. The Thebans. Leonidas does not trust them. It is rumored that Thebes has already surrendered to Persia. Leonidas believes they are here as spies, and in a final act of strategic brutality, he forces them to stay, not as allies, as hostages, to ensure they do not join Xerxes, the monster of the Agoge, cold and calculating. Until the last second, the pincer closes. They are barely 1,000 men, the 300 Spartans, the 700 Thespians, the Theban hostages against the world. Leon removes his helmet, breathes the morning air, looks at the 300 men who followed him into hell. He knows the oracle will be fulfilled. He knows his death will save Sparta. There is no more strategy. There is no more wall to defend. There is no more plan. Only death remains. Leonidas unleashes his monsters, shouts the line that defines his legend, the final order. Spartans, prepare your breakfast and eat well, because tonight we will dine in Hades. They no longer defend, they charge. Leonidas and his last men do not wait for death. They run toward it, abandon the safety of the wall, and charge straight into the vanguard of the Persian horde. It is a massacre. They surprise the Persians. who charges toward an army that surrounds you. They penetrate the lines, kill scores, the spears break. They draw their xiphos, their short swords. Leonidas is at the front. He is not a king, he is a butcher. He knows he has to die, but he will take as many as he can. He seeks out the Persian generals Xerxes himself. The Persians, terrified by this superhuman fury, fall back. They do not dare face him hand to hand. They riddle him. The king has fallen, but the battle is not over. The true battle begins, the fight for the body. The Persians rush to claim the king's corpse, and the remaining Spartans form a shield wall over Leonidas's fallen body. 4 times the Persians charge to take the body. 4 times the Spartans repel them. 2 of Xerxes' brothers die in the attempt. The Spartans are winning the battle for the body. The last survivors, wounded, broken, drag Leonidas's body to a small hill. They no longer have spears. Their swords are broken. They fight with their hands, with their teeth. Xerxes can bear it no longer. He will not sacrifice more men. He gives the final order, and the sky darkens. The sun shines again. The sky is clear. In the pass, the silence is deafening. There are no screams, no clash of steel, only the wind. Xerxes has won. The pass is cleared. He has paid for it with the blood of, according to reports, 20,000 of his best men, including 2 of his own brothers, all to kill 300 Spartans and 700 Thespians. The Thebans are branded like cattle, tattooed with the seal of the King of Kings, the mark of the slave, the fate Leonidas knew they deserved. Xerxes seeks one thing, the center of his rage, the body of his enemy. He finds the hill, he finds the riddled corpse of the Spartan king lying on a pile of fallen immortals. And here, Xerxes makes his final mistake, the mistake that proves he never understood his enemy. For the Greeks' respect for the body of a fallen enemy was sacred. It was the law of the gods. Xerxes, in a fit of impotent rage, orders that Leonidas's body be decapitated and his head impaled on a pike. His body crucified, the ultimate insult, the desecration of a king. But he has not erased him, he has made him immortal. The news of the massacre flies. The runners Leonidas sent race south, and the story they tell is not of defeat, it is of sacrifice. They tell the story of the oracle of the king who marched knowingly to die, of 300 men who stopped the largest army in the world for 3 days. It was a futile gesture, a glorious collective suicide. It was not a strategy. Leonidas bought Greece the one thing Xerxes' money could not. Time for Themistocles to position his fleet. Time to evacuate Athens. And most importantly, time for Greece's fear to turn into rage. The story of Thermopylae strikes the Greek city-states like lightning. The shame, the guilt. While they hesitated, while they respected festivals, while they argued, 300 men of Sparta and 700 of Thespiae died for them. The hesitation is gone. Terror is replaced by vengeance. Weeks later, in the Strait of Salamis, the Greek fleet, inspired by the sacrifice, crushes Xerxes' armada, an impossible naval victory that cuts the god-king's supply line. Xerxes, in panic, flees back to Asia, leaving his land army to finish the job. A year later, at the Battle of Plataea, the Spartans finally march with full force. They are not there to defend. They are there to avenge their fallen king. They lead the charge that annihilates the rest of the Persian army and ends the invasion forever. The oracle was fulfilled. Sparta was saved. The price was a king. Leonidas was not a philosopher. He was not a great builder. He was not a good man by our standards. He was something else. He was the perfect creation of an imperfect and brutal system. He was a monster designed with a single purpose, to be the shield. The Agoge stripped him of his fear, his compassion, and his individuality. And in Greece's darkest hour, those were the virtues they needed. Xerxes thought that by desecrating his body, he was winning. But the Spartans have a phrase, "Come back with your shield," or on it. Leonidas did not come back with his shield, but he did not come back on it either. His body was destroyed, but his legend became the shield of the entire Western civilization, a shield stronger than bronze. Xerxes had 1,000,000 men. Leonidas had a story.